What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flicks, right here and only on Dream Radio. Today's episode of On the Mic with Michael Flicks is brought to you by the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce. If your business has been affected by COVID and you could use relief assistance, visit www.sandiego.blackchamber.org to see if you qualify. Now let's start the show. It's been a long time coming.
I know, right?
I got my guy.
That, man.
It's been a long time coming, man.
Yes,
I got my guy, my good friend.
Yes, sir.
Full-time hoops, Aaron Bergen. How you doing, bro?
Man, just blessed to be here. I mean, like you said, man, we've been talking about this for months, man. Almost a year.
I was about to say probably about a year now.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy to be here, man.
I'm happy to have you here, man. I mean, if you play basketball or pay attention to basketball here in San Diego, everyone's at least seen one of your pages or seen your face somewhere before, man. I know because I've known you for a while now. How many years have I known you now? AJ's freshman in college, and I think I met you when he was in 5th grade.
Yeah, it's about 7-8 years now, bro.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. And you've had, I remember you, I think I kind of met you like at the start of Full-Time Hoops. And I remember you talking about, the plans that you had, and you didn't get, lay out a blueprint or anything for him, but I remember you talking about like the things that you were doing now and how are they going to set up for the things that you were going to do in the future. And it's really dope to see you really walk the plan that you laid out, man. It's really dope to see.
That's wild. I mean, when I think about it, like first just starting out with a small footprint in North County and then just thinking, okay, can I expand this? I know it's just me, one car, and a family. Can I somehow work this, to where I can cover the entire county and, to see that kind of just that, come to fruition. And then, all right, I've been helping everybody else do their events for them. Maybe I should do something of my own. And to see that happen, I mean, it's been wild, man. It's been crazy. I mean, just a lot of hard work, but we here. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Happy for you, man. Very proud. Very dope to see, man. What is it exactly that, I mean, I know, but this is, for everybody. What is it exactly that you do and that Full-Time Hoops does?
So Full-Time Hoops, everybody knows that's my alter ego. I'm a basketball scout. Basically what that means is colleges will hit me up, ask me about information about high school players in San Diego. I'll send them my service, which basically when I go to events, I take a lot of notes. I put those notes in the form of a report. I send those reports out to my subscribers so that they have information about San Diego area basketball players. I also write for Prep Hoops, which is they're a larger scouting-based network, and so I'm one of several writers for Southern California. I specifically, do all the San Diego coverage for Prep Hoops. And then, of course, I organized my own event, the Cream of the County, which is a showcase for San Diego talent from 8th grade to 12th grade, to have an opportunity to have exposure and just, be able to have a fun environment, to have that one day where they can, showcase their talents in front of people that can help them out along their way.
Mm-hmm. And so now I know you're a graduate from USC. I mean, obviously in the LA area.
Right on.
Exactly. What? Tell everybody what your major was.
I was a BA in print journalism. I minored in history. So, and then for 15 years, from 2004 to 2019, actually was a walking, talking, full-fledged journalist, and not a sports journalist. I covered news. I wrote for the Porterville Recorder, the Riverside Press Enterprise, the San Diego Union Tribune, the Coast News, and now I actually, in my day job, I work at San Diego State in the communications division.
Nice. And so with you, with that curiosity in journalism and you really interviewing some like really big wig names, politicians and different things, what made you want to get into Prep Hoops and not really kind of like, for lack of a better term, climb the ladder where you were and try to like go to CNN or one of these other places? What made you want to get into Prep Hoops?
I've always had my eye on covering basketball ever since I was in high school. When I played the sport, I was, the sports editor at my high school newspaper. And then when I went to college, I originally started out as a sports reporter. I covered the USC's volleyball team when they were really good. They made the Elite Eight my freshman year. And then I pivoted to hard news, but I've always kind of kept sports journalism close to me. So when I first got the job at the Porterville Recorder, I would cover football games and high school games on Fridays, when during my downtime. Then when I went to the PE, I wrote features about athletes, and I covered a few high school games. And it was right around that time I did a feature on a basketball player up in Riverside County named Xavier Johnson. X went to Mater Dei High School, and he actually hangs around here a lot.
I've had him on the show.
Yeah, he's a cool cat. So I did a story about him when he was a sophomore, writing that he was going to be the best player from Southwest Riverside County if he decided to stay at Chaparral at that point. And I had linked up with Joel Francisco from ESPN to get his take on X's game at that point, where he thought he would pan out. And that's when I started talking to Joel about what he did and for ESPN. And then he introduced me to his mentor, Frank Burleson, who said, this is what we do, this is how we do it. If it's something that interests you, you should try to pursue it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm doing the journalism thing. I love the journalism thing. How can I fit this in? And then they were like, well, if there are events in your area, go down, write something, and see what people think about it. So that's when I kind of branched out and started covering open runs. That was like 2011, 2012. Started covering open runs, writing reports. People started feeling what I was writing, so I started writing more. Charlie Mercado at Game Point Basketball, he had a website back in the day called nchoops.net.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And so he would throw my reports on NC Hoops. Every time I would drop a report, his readership would go off the charts. He was like, yeah, people are feeling this. And I was like, that's dope. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I need to start my own platform. And why I chose not to pursue the whole, just go to CNN or do anything like that. I mean, I love journalism. I love writing, but I've always, for some reason, a lot of people, they think global. I always think local when it came to journalism, because I always felt like the most important level of government was always the city hall, because that's where all the real important decisions that affect you, your business, your family. I mean, a lot of people, get worked up over governor elections and presidential elections. I always loved keeping it local, and that kind of dovetails into my approach with basketball. This is the city that I call home. I've called it home for 15 years now. So let's try to put a spotlight on these kids. It's the same thing, same reason why, I don't try to go ripping and running up to LA, to cover all of their stuff, because, it's like we got dudes here that can go, and when they go up there, of course I'm going to cover my San Diego guys, but it's the same approach I've always had to journalism, basketball, grow your home turf. And that's always been my philosophy.
Now, you say you've called San Diego home for 15 years. Now, what brought you to San Diego?
So back in 2006, 2007, I was up in Porterville, and we were, me and Susie, my wife, we were plotting our next move at that point. And I interviewed for a bunch of positions at newspapers, and one of the first ones to give me an interview was the North County Times. And so Susie had just got accepted to Woodbury University School of Architecture in San Diego. So I was like, all right, well, that seems like it'd be a good fit. And then they offered me the position at the North County Times at their Temecula bureau called the Californian. A week before I was supposed to start that job, the Press Enterprise called me and offered me basically the same job at their Temecula bureau, making a little more money. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take that job. So I took that job. Susie started going to Woodbury, and we moved to Vista. And so I would go north to Temecula, 35, 40 minutes, and she would go south to San Diego on the bus with AJ at that point. And, so that's how we ended up in San Diego. And so, for a while, it was like me going up north and then going to cover the city of Lake Elsinore. So I would get to Temecula, then head out to Lake Elsinore.
I remember always seeing those Elsinore tweets. I remember that.
I had to cover Elsinore, and then Susie would catch I don't remember the bus. I think it was a 235 bus
235,
line.
yep.
It has 235 downtown, and at first Woodbury was off of 7th and C. and then they moved to Barrio Logan, and so AJ, then he started going to Florence Elementary and Hillcrest. So like we were spread all over the place for
Mm-hmm.
like a
Mm-hmm.
couple years, and then finally I got the job at the UT, and initially in their San Marcos bureau. So I was like able to, basically live. We lived in Vista. I worked like 3 blocks away. It was cool for a cool minute, and then I moved down to the Mission Valley bureau, and so then I started taking over, dropping AJ off down at the crib, and then Sue was doing the stay-at-home mom thing with Samantha for a while, and then she got back into into work, and then we were just like, okay, all right, so I'm down in San Diego, AJ's down in San Diego, Susie's down in San Diego. All right, we probably got to move from North County.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
Mm-hmm.
like in 2015, we moved down to Sherman Heights, and we've been here ever since.
Mm-hmm. And see, I met you. You were living in Vista, and AJ was playing Game Point, and I think he had not too long ago had played for the rec center out in Vista as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like you guys was repping so hard and wearing so much red and black, I just knew y'all was from Vista. And then so when you told me, when I like, as you know, when you and I become friends, and I hear like you're from LA and the USC and everything, I'm like, oh, okay. I thought y'all was from Vista. How hard y'all was going? But that's cool. And I remember the thing that really, I had been hearing your name and seeing your reports here and there, but I think the report of yours that really caught my eye, my guy Marcus Hentley. He's had some things going on, but he's just getting back to basketball. One of your reports had him as like one of the most underrated players in San Diego.
I still believe in that kid.
For sure.
Man,
For sure.
that to me, I remember the first time I saw him play, I was like, all right, first off, who is this dude? Like with like literally, when I think about basketball players and I think about we always talk about the length and trying to project how they'll fill out. I was like, this kid has he has a Division I body already.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I watched him play, it's like he could shoot, he can pass, he can handle a rock, he can defend. Like, all right, what am I missing? And everybody's like, oh, he's just under the radar. Like, I'm like, this kid's really good. He's better than a lot of the kids that people think are really good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, and I still believe, like, at some point when he gets back on track,
Mm-hmm.
it's, whether he has to go the JUCO route or he goes the overseas pro route, whatever he does, at some point everybody's going to catch on to what we've known for a long time, that the kid can go.
I don't know if you've been seeing, but he's back at it, man. He's looking good. He's back at it. He's back hooping. I mean, right now it's just like adult leagues and pickup games and like 24-hour fitness and stuff like that. But the game is still there. The shot is still there. It's all still there. Something's gonna happen for Marcus for sure.
Know.
Marcus, we rooting for you, bro. Keep
Yes,
going.
sir.
We rooting for you, bro. Keep going.
Get that done.
So yeah, that report, and I've known Marcus and his family, I think, since Marcus was like 7. So then when I saw him, I'm like, oh, little, because I've always known how good he was. I'm like, oh, little bro, finally getting some shine. I remember I seen him at the YMCA in Escondido. We spoke about it, and then actually I think you ended up coming up to the YMCA later on that day. Actually, so it was funny how everything kind of worked out. And then like later, shortly after that, I started training AJ, and then we, our families got really really cool.
Yep.
So what's like I said, you've been moving around in San Diego in the basketball scene for a long time. What's the is there like an ultimate goal for full-time hoops, or is there like something that you aspire for full-time hoops to have or to do outside of, you're already doing amazing things, I'm not saying you're not,
Yeah.
but are there other things that like you aspire to see full-time hoops doing?
I mean, I have a couple of plans, some things that we're working on. I want to actually expand the cream of the county into Imperial County. We've been talking about that. One of the backbones, the pillars of what what I've tried to build with full time hoops is giving people that don't necessarily have the opportunity to showcase their talents a chance. And we keep forgetting that our CIF, our CIF section includes Imperial County, and every year they come down to San Diego for our playoffs. And no one has zero intel about them. Like, I'm like, have you seen them play? No. And so I've taken a keen interest the last few years of like trying to get to know some of the guys out in Imperial County, some of their players. And so I've learned a lot about the talent they have out there, and they have a lot of talent. They just, it's just so scattered, and there's there's one club team that's like kind of popping, but it's like the scene out there, it's just, I think it's like, to me it's like an aloe vera plant that's just like kind of weathered, but if you just drop a little water on it, it just pops right back up. So that's for me. That's one thing I have near and dear is like expanding the cream of the county out to Imperial. That's gonna be one thing. Expanding the lineup of the showcases to really establish the unsigned senior event that I had a couple years back and making that a mainstay. And then I've always wanted to do an event where it's all the kids from like the really good hoopers from the Division 4 and below schools, and give them an opportunity because a lot of times those kids don't, when we talk about the cream of the county, a lot of the really good players obviously play for D1 and D2 and D3 schools. So those D4, D5s that can hoop, like they very rarely will get an opportunity to play in there. So if I can at least create some type of mechanism to give them some exposure, that would help, the entire region. Beyond that, man, like everybody asks me, well, like, what's my end game with this? And I guess my end game is, making sure that every San Diego kid that can get a scholarship, if I can help them in any sort of way, help them. That's really it, man.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And see, and I've known that about you, but I definitely wanted to give you the platform to say it. And that was one of the things. Other than I'm not as good as you. I didn't go to school for it. I haven't mastered it like you have. But I really enjoy writing, and I love to write. And that was why for a little bit I was writing with you and
Yes.
trying to do what I could with you. But for the same reason as what you said about like giving the kids who typically don't get an interview or don't get a write up,
Yep.
giving them some burn. You know what I mean? Because I've said in a few interviews before, like I was one of those kids that, football was my main sport. I played basketball, but I backed up my brother. Football was my main sport.
Yeah.
I started. I played. I was good at football, and I had a few good games where like I played kickoff return. I'd have like a 50-yard return, something super good, or like I had like perfect example, right? I had a game. I once had a game where I had a 50-yard kickoff return, a 25-yard kickoff return, and I started on defense, and I had 2 pass deflections and like 4 tackles. I had a great game.
Oh, so you were like that.
And nobody talked to me. And I understand because what I did wasn't sexy. You know what I mean? I didn't throw a touchdown. I didn't jump over somebody and flip into, like, I understand.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking like I don't know if I'm going to have a better, just being realistic with myself. I don't know if I'm ever going to have a better game than this while I'm in high school. And nobody wants to talk to me about it. You know what I mean? And I wasn't salty about it. I understand how it works. I'm not one of those people that like everybody gets a trophy. I understand how it works. But I remember thinking like, damn, this would be a dope time for me to get an interview. You know what I mean? And so now that I'm in a position where I can put cameras and microphones in front of kids, I want to go and talk to the kids who even if they're the best player on their team, they probably don't get a lot of burn as far as like social media or like reporters and people in their face. You know what I mean? Another example I'll give you, like when Mikey Williams freshman year, he was at San Ysidro. I always felt so, and this is another thing. I always feel weird, bro, being a grown man, I'm in my 30s, filming kids and like fighting for elbow room with other adults.
It's crazy.
To film a kid. Again, I understand it. It's the time we live in, social media, exposure. I understand it. But it always makes me feel weird, bro. And that, like, feeling like this is a kid, bro. I'm not finna be like fighting with other men to film a kid. I know I shouldn't think about it that way. But I do. I do.
You and me on the same page.
And then so that, and then me being a kid that always would want an interview from time to time, I keep those things in mind when I'm thinking, if I'm not booked, I'm like, what game I'm gonna pull up to this week? You know what? I'm gonna go check them out because I know there's not gonna be another camera there, and they might not have a camera there until the playoffs or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's really what I do. I have personal and personal reasons and personal goals. I guess you can call them selfish if you want, and things that I want to do and growth that I want to have and all of that. But I really. I think I'm just a vessel. I'm here to serve, and that's what I do it for. You know what I mean?
Into that.
For sure. So what do you over the last few years San Diego high school basketball has really put on we've always known we got guys that can go here, but now LA knows and a lot of other places know. What do you contribute to the big like rise or like the big like boom in San Diego's prep basketball?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with just guys getting out more and playing against, those guys. We always hear about the Southern Section guys and, all the guys, the Modern Days of the world, the Sierra Canyons of the world. So I contribute a lot of the success that our guys are having to what they're doing during, the off season, during AAU, actually getting an opportunity to face a lot of these guys. I mean, we've got multiple club teams that, have had opportunities to play against the Dream Visions, the Compton Magics, the Why Nots, the Oakland Soldiers of the world. And, they've either A, come across, they've had success, or B, at the very least, they leave, with the respect of those guys and those programs. And, we've even had a few of our guys play for some of those programs. I mean, perfect example, Boogie Ellis. Maybe a couple years ago, people wouldn't have thought that a guy, a 6'1.5", 170-pound guy could have an impact on the EYBL circuit, and he did. And he was
in a major way.
In a major way, exactly. I mean, led them to, I think, a third place finish at Peach Jam that year. So you have that opportunity during the month of July to spar against those guys. When you come back to your high school, you're not afraid of those dudes anymore, because you've already faced them during the summertime. I think we've seen that. We've seen San Diego kind of level up to Los Angeles, and it kind of culminated last year with Torrey Pines going undefeated all the way until their very last game. And even then, losing at Etiwanda by 3 in the Open Division Regional Championship is nothing to
not at all.
Nothing to cry about. I mean, that's a big accomplishment. I mean, almost beating a team that just beat Sierra Canyon. Mind you, the week before, you beat Damien by 30. I mean, that's maybe 10 years ago, Torrey Pines was struggling to get, out of the first round of state. They would win a Division I title and then get to the first round and lose to that very same Etiwanda program, and get blown out the gym. But you've seen that steady progression, and I think obviously AAU and travel ball has a lot to do with that, and the success that some of our travel programs have had and our individual players have had. Yeah, definitely makes a lot of difference.
For sure. And I 100% agree with that. And I also think what contributes to it is, because of the time that we're in, all you need is, an explosion of a guy, with a name from a city, and everybody's like, oh, they play ball out there? And now it's now people are, keeping an eye on it. Now obviously the whole city looks to you when they want to know about prep basketball. That's without doubt. Do you have any plans to? I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you have any plans to expand to other sports or put your hand in football or baseball or anything? Or are you just looking to stay with basketball?
Basketball is my field of expertise. I mean, I did cover football for a long time. I mean, some of my first bylines as a journalist were in high school for the Daily News. I would actually cover high school football while I was in high school for the Daily News. And that was a hell of an experience. Back in '99, we didn't have ready-made cell phones. So I remember getting changed, heading to the payphone, calling my story in, and then having to catch the MTA bus from whatever football stadium I was at all the way to the Daily News, their headquarters in Woodland Hills, and getting out 10 o'clock at night, making sure I filed my story, and then having to catch the bus at 10:50 all the way back to from the edge of the valley in Woodland Hills to downtown Los Angeles to get home. I'd be getting home 12:30, 1 o'clock. That's a trek, bro. So, and so I know football, obviously, but my heart's in hoops, man. I feel like if I were to expand into another sport, maybe it would be football, but I just don't see that happening. I think there are guys out there that do a pretty good job of it. I always look on my Twitter account and I see I see Dago football, I see SDFNL, I see all those guys, covering all the teams, and I see the proliferation of 7-on-7, and I follow a lot of those guys' Twitter accounts. It's crazy, and it's also very, I see the interaction between certain guys in that scene. It seems rather cutthroat. So I'm
yeah.
I'll leave that to.
Right, I'll let y'all have that.
Y'all go ahead and do that, man. I'm good. I'm good over here in my little corner of the earth.
I hear it, man. I wanna get back into some writing, man. Doing some reporting. I started to do it last season, but I couldn't find a good balance of getting home with enough time to cut up my highlights and get them posted so people can see them, and then try to like feed my kids or put them to bed, and then try to like write up a report on the game as well. That is something that this coming season I am gonna definitely not. It's not gonna be a report with each package that I drop, but I definitely want to get into some print though. I definitely
That would be dope because you're a good writer, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
You are.
That means a lot from you, bro. For real, thank you.
Nah, man, you already know, man.
Thank you, man. I like to think I'm a good writer, but hearing it from you is 100%. That. Thank you. Appreciate that.
For sure, man.
Who are you looking at this coming season? Like what players, what teams, who are you expecting to do some big things this coming season?
All right, so I think right now, like St. Augustine looks like clear and convincingly the number one team coming in to the season. They're gonna be good. They obviously brought back a ton of talent. Jurian Dixon, Ian De La Rosa, Lolo Rudolph, Jaden Matingu. Then you add Darius Carter Hollinger transferring from Foothills.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I'd be so late on all of that, bro. I don't know how that happens, but like I follow all the kids. I follow most of the coaches. I be like, I didn't know that the Gonzalez boys went back to Mater Dei. I just found that out like 4 days ago, bro.
Wild though, right?
That's super wild.
Like what?
That's super wild.
Like okay, I didn't even see that one coming when it came, and people were whispering about it to me like, yeah, they might go back. I'm like, nah, man. After what they've done and what how they put on, and like if they stay, Mission Bay will probably be like the number 2 team in San Diego, and I guess it just. I don't know, so they made that move. I mean, I honestly don't know if it hurts Mission Bay as much as people think that it will because, Marshawn has a stable of young talent.
He does.
I've watched them play on Wednesday over at the Montgomery League, and they're not going to skip a beat, bro. I mean, they're starting 5. They're obviously will have Jello, and
I love him.
Jello's like top 10 player in San Diego, regardless of grade. I mean, probably closer to the top 5. He just plays his ass off.
I love his motor.
Yeah, plays his ass off, and he's a leader too. And you need that if you're gonna try to make a run in the Open division.
That was one of the biggest surprises that I noticed with him when I mic'd him up. I mic'd him up one game last season. That was one of the biggest. This dude is a real a leader.
He's a born leader. He is a leader. So between him, Rami Anglo. You bring back Jordan Cooper, Thomas Metcalf. You got Marcos Corch, Charlie Hutchison, a 6'7" sophomore who's like he's been balling. Isaiah Whitehurst. I mean they're deep, and I don't think that people realize how deep they are. Josh McHagapall is probably gonna be the 5th starter for them, who didn't play a lot last year, but now will be kind of put back in that role. But between Saints. San Isidro, Tuck has Tuck has a lot of talent over there. I mean, I saw them win they won the Madison Fall Classic. They beat Hoover pretty handily, and they bring back their entire starting 5. Plus, they bring in a transfer from the Dominican Republic, who's like 6'9". I mean, so they've got a lot of talent.
Been dealing with my boy Jay Shapp over there that covers their team. Me and him gonna do some things together. He's real excited about this season coming.
Everybody's excited.
Yeah, for sure.
So those 2, and then I would say San Marcos in North County, because you bring back Devin Arlington, you bring back Max McCall, you've got like 3 or 4 6'7" dudes over there. Lucas Gordon, I can't remember the blonde kid's name who backed up Christian Littlejohn last year. You've got shooters and Nicky and Cello, Evan Record. I saw Evan Record hit like 8 threes against Mission Hills last game of the regular season last year. So they're probably the number, I would say 2A, 2B, San Marcos and San Isidro. And then after that, I think there's a little bit of there's a big line of demarcation. And then there's a bunch of teams that could be right next to them. Francis Parker, San Diego is going to be up there, I think. Mater Dei with the Gonzalez boys. There's a couple. There's Torrey Pines, obviously. They're always going to be really good. And then there are a couple of sleepers, too, that I think people should watch out for. Del Norte. Del Norte is super. They're deep. They've got like 10 guys that they can plug in and play at various positions. Carlsbad will be pretty good. They have a freshman, Jake Hall, who's 6'2" kid shooter. I saw him light up Torrey Pines for like 30 in a summer league game, varsity.
Wow.
Like he's
Wow.
yeah, he's the truth. So you've got Carlsbad who will still be good. They won't be as flashy as they were last year when they had Caleb Nelson dunking on everybody. Orange Glen will be good again this year. I mean,
Shout out to the crib.
yep, you already know. And then Mission Hills will be really good too. Jaden and Justin White, I still can't believe how huge they are now. I'm like looking up to these dudes. Like,
Yes.
bro, you're all at 6'7" right now.
And not just tall, like the
Filled
kids
out.
are built. Yeah.
They filled out.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on, time out. This isn't little Justin and little Jaden.
Right.
Like, hold on. And I remember AJ last year we went to go watch that Mission Hills game, and we were walking out with them, and I was looking, I was like, damn, they're taller than AJ. Like what? And then down here, look out for Montgomery. They're gonna be young, but they've got a lot of talent. Melo Sanchez, little brothers, JJ and Alec, are Flacco. They go there, and they just beat a Del Norte team, and they were shorthanded. They only had like 6 or 7 guys. Del Norte had their whole squad, and Alec and JJ I think scored all but like 8 of their team's points. They're really good. Helix will be solid. I think the one area in San Diego that's just a little down compared to years past is, I would say, the Coastal League. Back in like 5 years ago, when you had Foothills, it was just running through everybody. Country Day was running through everybody. Santa Fe was always really good. Army Navy was hopping. It's gonna be down this year. I mean, Parker will be your best team, and then maybe Army Navy. Maybe Santa Fe if they can get things rolling, because they graduated like almost all of their scoring from last year. That's going to be the one weird thing about this year, is like seeing San Diego hoop without the Coastal League being like that dominant conference. So I think the Western League and the other Coastal League, the one with Torrey Pines in it, I think those are going to be the 2 leagues to look out for. And in terms of players, obviously the big names everybody knows. I mean, we got 2 right now. We only got 2 dudes that are signed to D1s at this point. That's a little low. I mean, and obviously it's an impact of the pandemic.
Right.
But Devin Arlington and Otto Landrum, those are the only 2. But if I were to tell people, like, who would you go watch to just go buy some popcorn and actually head to a game and enjoy, go watch Alexis Marmolejos from Army Navy. He's fun to watch.
He is.
He's really fun to watch. Go watch Jello and the crew at Mission Bay. They're always fun to watch. I mean, obviously, bring the swear jar because, Marshawn gets active. That's my guy. Shout out to Marshawn Cherry. He's a good dude, man. Friend
Miking him up there, editing his mic'd up series is always a fun thing to do.
It's a fun thing, bro.
He's a great coach, man. He's a great coach.
He is a very good coach, and he demands excellence from his guys. You can never fault him for that. Obviously the show over South Bay, going down to San Isidro, because if Martin Flores gets a dunk, Tucker gonna call a timeout so his boys can get a celebration on. I mean, it's always fun to go watch a game down there. And then honestly, go downtown, man. Go to San Diego. They got a kid there. They got an 11th grader by the name of Jacob Benarby, and I wish he had transferred a year earlier. That would have been kind of nice.
Right.
But they're actually they've got a load of talent, especially in their younger levels. Their 9th grade group at the Cream of the County surprised me. I was like, wow, like they're like literally like 5 deep at the Cream of the County, and then there's like 6 other kids who didn't, who tried out for the Cream of the County and didn't make it, but in a normal year would have made it because I would have had 2 9th grade games. So like you're talking about like an entire varsity team worth of 9th graders in a couple years. So yeah, go to, the hashtag come downtown is still a thing. Definitely get your tickets and go support Caver basketball. You might see me there. You might not, but more than likely, you might see me for a
I was
few
gonna say,
games.
you know you're gonna be in there. You know you're gonna be in there.
Might.
Hopefully AJ could pull up, come check out a few games if he in town. Doubt he'll be able to, but
Yeah.
how's that been, man? Transition of the oldest kids out of the house. How's that been for you, man? I mean, it's an exciting time because he reached a goal, doing what he always wanted to do. But how's that been for you?
I'll tell you what. I called Samantha AJ yesterday, and it just like kind of rolled off the tongue, like, "Hey, what you doing, AJ?" Whoa! And Sam looked at me like, "Did you really just?" I was like, "Yeah, that happened." It is definitely a transition. It's now I'm actually able to give my energies, to, I don't like. I'm looking at my basketball schedule and it's like I don't have to work around. AJ has a game here. I need to be here for his game. Now I can actually cover other games that I normally wouldn't. But obviously the family dynamic is just totally different. It's you're used to having this kind of omnipresent presence in the household, and now they're off doing their thing. But I think we've all kind of adjusted. The hardest adjustment was for Samantha because
sure.
that was her roll dog. I mean they still talk pretty much every day on the phone. Like
That's
Sam
dope.
will call him up and FaceTime him and ask his advice on like dancing and things like that, and just like what songs should she choose. Like last night we were having this whole thing. She has a solo that she's working on, and so like she called AJ like, what music should I dance to? And so the AJ had two of his teammates there, and it was funny. It was like two of the teammates who aren't from the United States. There's one from Denmark and then one from Spain.
Okay.
And so then they sent their songs, and it was like, this is French hip hop. This is very, and then like the other one sent like reggaeton. We're like, okay, we're gonna dead that one. But then like the French hip hop was like okay, and Sam was like, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling this, and then like it's just like now we have that type of relationship where it's technology has allowed us to be able to see him even though we can't like be next to him. But we'll see him in November. I think November is. They play Pepperdine, so we're going to get out to that game at Pepperdine. And then in December, they come down to play UC Santa Barbara, and then he'll be home for like 3 or 4 days before he has to go back up for the start of conference play. But it's been definitely a transition.
When he plays for those 2 games, hit me up. I'm gonna try to make sure I can go.
Man, that Pepperdine game, man, that's gonna be fun. They're actually. I was surprised. I actually bought an Athlon and a Lindy's magazine for the first time in, I don't know, like 20 years, just to see what their predictions were, and both predicted Idaho State to be like 3rd in their league. So,
Nice.
And that's a league that has been dominated by Montana and Eastern Washington and Weber State for like the last 25 years. I mean, Damian Lillard, that's that league. So for them to be considered in that top third is, it's a pretty exciting time for him. So like when they come down for the Pepperdine game, they're not coming down as like we're just like here to take that check from them. Like they're actually there to compete.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Pretty dope.
That's what's up. I asked because I seen I think maybe a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, I seen you post something about like my friend is gone. I seen you post that, and it made me think about when I moved to LA when I was 20. I mean, obviously, it's San Diego and LA. It's super close. I could come home whenever I wanted. But that was my first time leaving the house, and I was 20. And I've always been a mama's boy. Like, to this day, I'm a hardcore mama's boy. Me and my dad are super tight, but I'm a mama's boy, though.
Yeah, same here.
And I remember, and I didn't know this until, I want to say, like, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. My mom was telling me how difficult that was for my dad. Because they drove, I moved in with my aunt and my cousin up in LA, and my parents drove me down. And my mom was telling me on the way back, like my dad was like, we just gonna leave him? Like we just gonna leave him here? And she said she had to tell him, like, this is what he wants to do. He's studying music. He wants to come out here and go. He's grown. It's a choice he made. He said my dad, like, he was like near tears. And it really caught me off guard. It had me getting choked up because I'm like, I've seen my dad cry once. He like ruptured his small intestine and had to get rushed to the hospital. Like, it's the one time I've ever seen my dad cry. You know what I mean? And my mom said he was like in the car getting choked up on the way back, and it made me like dang. And then so like now fast forward, like granted my oldest son is only 5, but whenever like I got to spend like an extended period away from him, it's like okay, perfect example. I went to LA, I got somebody booked me to film and take pictures at their party at a birthday party. And then the next day, I was covering a basketball game out there as well. So I stayed the weekend, got a hotel and stayed the weekend. I'm thinking like, oh, it's gonna be good, no kids. I'm gonna stay, get a whole bunch of editing done. I'll be by myself, loud TV all night,
Nope.
whatever. Bro, I tell you, when I checked in my room, opened the door, and seen them, I had a room with 2 beds. I don't know why I did that, but I looked at them 2 empty beds, and I instantly got sad, bro.
Yep.
Instantly got sad. I'm like, yo, I should have my girl and my kids here. Like, this is, and it was just for the weekend. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine how my dad felt or how you could be feeling right now.
I'll tell you what, man. Like, I think it really hit. So when we first moved him up in June, um, I didn't really have a chance to absorb it because right when I docked back into Utah, after dropping him off, the whole Coronado thing exploded.
Oh, okay.
And so like
We're gonna get into that too.
yeah, I went right from dropping him off dad mode to like my phone blowing up and like, oh crap. Like so but the second time when we dropped him off in August and then on the way home, it was like, wow, like it's like he's really not here. And you know, like he's really not in the because for the longest because we're both really tall and long, and we need the leg room. He was sitting in the front seat, and like you know, like Susie seated the front seat to him like when he was like 14 or 15. So like I'm sitting here, I'm like there's no one in the front seat right now because Susie wanted to stay back there to console Samantha because Samantha was crying the whole time.
Oh, poor
so I'm
girl.
sitting here just driving. I'm like, man, like there's no one here.
That's crazy.
It's just it's overwhelming, man. It's overwhelming, you know. But I know he's good, and I know that like the coaches are taking care of him, and they always tell me like they'll let me know like how things are going. I'm like, yeah, he's doing really well, and I'm like, all right, well, you know, just let me know if he cuts out of line. I got you, you know. We ain't nothing but a 10-hour drive away.
I heard that. I heard that. So we ain't playing no games.
No sir.
Like you said, right when you get back, the whole Coronado thing happened. For those, you know, who were living over a rock or just didn't see it, at the Orange Glen Coronado CIF state championship game, an idiot brought some tortillas in, gave them to people, and they got tossed out. Now we ain't gonna. I did a whole interview about it. We're not gonna get all the way back into it. We ain't got to rehash what happened. But
Thank goodness.
you were at the center of that, covering everything, going to the city hall in Coronado and everything. And I remember seeing you like right at the end of it, and you looked like, bro, you hadn't slept in weeks. And I remember thinking like, fam, you don't have to do this. How was it being at the center of all that and getting all these emails and phone calls and meetings and all that? How was that?
Man, I'll tell you what. It's, you know, you're right about like I didn't have to, but that's when the journalism side of me kicked in.
1000%.
It was just like, hold on, this is a story. Like this is a story that will have like far-reaching implications like outside of San Diego.
It became a national story.
It became a national story, and so I was all in. Like whatever the development was going to be, I was going to, you know, at least for the first couple weeks, I was going to stay on top of it. And man, that was a draining experience. And I think one of the reasons why it was so draining was the parents from Coronado, the parents that were against the firing of the coach.
Okay.
And were against all of the, they were protesting Coronado being being cast as quote unquote racist. Like those parents drain the life out of you because I don't understand. I maybe it's like, maybe if I lived on the island, I would get where they were coming from, but like objectively, like this is what we think about Coronado. This is a long-standing reputation that community has had. This didn't pop up overnight. This was just amplified to the nth degree by this incident. And to have, to sit there at a school board meeting and listening to these people castigate school board members for wanting to apologize for what happened and for calling it what it was, that just was like, for me, it was just infuriating to sit there. And there were a couple parents that, they took it way beyond just like then they formed parent groups, and then they started
Doing the Facebook thing.
bring in the mayor, because the mayor is a big GOP big wig, and then to see it more from concerned parents to literally just becoming like a politically motivated agenda, fighting what they thought was a politically motivated agenda in some warped sense. I still don't understand half the logic that they were using, but it just gnawed at the core of my being, and I just sat here looking like, what are these people doing? What are they thinking? Like, and do I want to hop into, jump into their skin and kind of get an idea? No, not really. I don't. But it just, man. So by about week 3, it was like, can this story please like come to some resolution? And it's still unresolved. They don't have a coach. I mean, they're just now. I mean, you're like 2 months away from season, and you don't have a head coach of your basketball program.
Wow.
Let alone.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, they didn't start the search until like 2 weeks ago. They literally just started the search. I mean, do they not want to have a basketball program anymore? I don't know. But fielding a team is going to be difficult for them at this point, because even before all this went down, they were already going to lose a lot of kids. They had a kid already who moved to Carmel Valley and was like commuting to Coronado to finish out the season, but he was already gone. They had a kid whose family was moving to Seattle. He was already gone. They had a kid leave, a sophomore that was going to be key for them this year, leave mid-season. Pops hit me up, was like, I guess we left right before the shit hit the fan.
Wow.
I was like, yep, he's gone. And so, like, and then you graduate Wayne and graduate Alex. So you're not left with much.
Yeah.
And now you don't have a coach. And, like,
you got postseason penalties, too.
Yeah, you got postseason penalties. You got a season, like, right around the corner. Like, okay, I don't, but so you don't have a coach. You're still appealing, and I honestly, I can't speak for the school board, but I know there are a couple of members that are just going through the motions with this appeal. They don't want to appeal it, but, like, they have to go through the motions because otherwise, like, they'll get recalled by, the crazies on the island. But it's like, I just, I've seen a couple of the subsequent school board meetings with people getting up there and, making very racist comments about how they're not racist. And I'm just like, y'all logic is just off the Richter scale, bro. I don't get this shit at all. So, I mean, it was quite an experience to be reimmersed into a national story, but it is an experience that I would not want to repeat at any point, like, soon, because it drains the life force out of you. And honestly, you already know me. You know, like, where I stand on a lot of things ideologically, politically, and to see some of those people and what they've had to say about, what they thought happened and what didn't happen, and we're not racist and everybody else is the problem and all this other stuff. Like, I can't sit there and watch people just deny responsibility for, the actions that, and I honestly had people in Coronado just said, man, we really screwed up. This would have been over like a week after it happened, instead of still
deny.
And it's been unresolved for months. Crazy. Crazy.
I didn't spend much time in Coronado, but I remember we did a family reunion out here in San Diego, and we did like the double-decker bus thing, did a bus tour, and we went down to Coronado, down to the beach. I remember just walking around down there, man, just like on the beach, like buying drinks and just hanging out with my cousins and doing stuff, and we did not feel welcome, bro. We did not feel welcome. And I even have some biracial cousins that are black and white, and they noticed it. Like, nobody, they were good, but they noticed like how their family, felt. And so feel like having spent just a little bit of time and having felt that before while being there, I was really proud. I forget the young lady's name, but I was really proud of the student who got up there and was like we do things here and it's hurtful and it's not okay, bro. I almost dropped a tear watching that. I was so because it takes a lot of pride and a lot of, I don't want to say pride, but a lot of strength and courage to get up there and talk the way she did as a kid and have to live in that city and still see those people.
Not to mention, like, right after, like, you know, to hear like 3 or 4 people basically like talk down about what she just said. I mean, she knew that was gonna be like, as soon as she sat down, there were 3 or 4 people who were gonna get up there and say that she had no idea what she was talking about, and we're not this and we're not that, and if she feels that way, she should just leave the island. I mean, I've heard that like so many times. Like, if you feel that we're, you know, racist, then, you know, then why don't you just leave here? It's like, wow. Or just fix the problems.
See, it's not really surprising, but I don't. It's really super duper disappointing, man. Like I've been in San Diego pretty much all my life. Like, I'm originally from Long Beach, but I mean, I've been in San Diego since I was 6, and I've experienced things in Fallbrook. I've experienced things in Ramona, a little bit in Valley Center, for sure in Coronado. And every time it happens, it's like on the one hand, it's like when people are competing, you see the best and the worst of people when they're competing. And so it's like what's inside of you when you really get upset or the ref made a call you didn't like or you lost whatever. Like, your insides show themselves when you compete at a high level. You know what I mean? And so I don't necessarily give people a pass when they're competing, but what am I trying to say here? Like, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. Let me start with that. It's all wrong. But I've never said anything like cross the line while I've competing. Yeah. But I've definitely been in competition and reacted in ways and did things. I'm like, yo, if I wasn't trying to score a touchdown right now, I would not have said that, and I would not have. That's not even really my personality. Yeah. But it is because it came out. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm saying all that to say, when people are competing, I can kind of give a little bit of leeway. Yeah. But then when you're in the city and you're not competing and you still feel that way, exactly. It's like this must be the temperature of the city.
Bro, we say things in the heat of battle all the time. I mean, if you play hoop, I mean, you've probably, you know, I'm the first person to say I've probably dropped the N-bomb like a million times playing basketball, bro. It's just how we talk, you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, it's once you leave and you know, you're a civilian, you just you know, that goes away. And like, cause you, like you said, you're not in the hot-blooded competition. But then sit here now at school board meetings and council meetings and board of supervisors meetings and continuing to repeat the same things over and over and over again, at some point it's like, this is who you are. You can't deny that at that point. I mean, this is really who you are as a community and as individuals, and you can't get mad when don't nobody want to mess with you. Like,
that's a fact. That's a fact. Now, what you said right now about like when you become a civilian, you kind of switch it off. It made a question pop into my head. You being a big man, a big black man, and working in journalism around people who probably don't look like you, have you noticed at all that you've had to like kind of tuck things or maybe code switch a little bit in certain spaces that you've been in?
Man, of course.
How does that feel?
I mean, when you have to hit them with like the I always say like the AT&T operator voice, like, hey, this is Aaron. How are you guys doing? I mean, I think we do it all the time. I mean, I've, you know, covering council meetings and stuff like that. It's just, at some point you don't want people to feel like, you know, and it sucks that I have to accommodate you, you know, and not be who I am. But it's like, I also got to do my job. Right. So yeah, you know, we all have to do it. I talked to my sister about this. My older sister, you know, all my sisters live in LA. I'm the only one that lives down here. But like my older sister, she's an attorney, and like she works pretty much in a white dominated legal law firm. And it's like, she has to do it all the time. Like, it's part of the way that we get things done. You know, but we obviously can let our guard down a little bit when we're around our people, around our folk. But like, yeah, we always have to do that. And, you know, and you still get the stares and still get the looks. I mean, I know there are times when like people see my name, like they see Aaron Bergen. If they don't know me, like then they see me and I automatically know the look. You weren't expecting a 6'4", 300-pound black dude, were you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, you was
Right, right,
because my
right.
name doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
My name apparently, like I guess they were, they were expecting a like maybe I'm a DeAndre or something like that. Like, bro, like it's so weird to
Mm-hmm.
me. It's just, but it's a reality that sometimes we've got to do the disarming so
Yeah.
that people can mess with us. And I'm just like, I I wish as a society we were at a point where we didn't have to do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I it takes a lot of
It
energy.
does. It does. It makes me feel weird when I have to do like an extreme version of it, and I've found like a nice space that I reside in pretty much 98% of the time, to where like I've kind of like merged like my AT&T voice with how I normally talk. Like how I speak on my shows is pretty much how I speak everywhere.
Yeah.
Whether I'm in a job interview, whether I catch up with you after a game or something, like how you see me is this is how I am all the time. You know what I mean? But I have it took some time though, because I remember feeling like walking into a job interview or walking into certain spaces and feeling like, man, I'm gonna have to really really turn on the charm or really like bump up my vocabulary, really pull out some of these SAT words so they know like that I deserve to be in this room, or that I do belong. Okay, perfect example. Rest in peace, Michael K. Williams from The Wire. He just passed away.
Yeah.
And one of the podcasts I was listening to, they were talking about how everywhere he went, he was super fly suited and booted, because he knew he was a dark skinned man with a scar down his face. Mm-hmm. So he already knew there was going to be a preconceived notion about him. Mm-hmm. So he felt like he had to show up everywhere, super fly, super dope. So when you see him, like, yo, he know what he doing. He obviously got some money because of look at him. Okay, so let's make it fair for him. He's not he's not what he isn't what I think he looks like. You know what I mean? And it really sucks, man. This is a really like depressing thing to say, but I sometimes feel like that'll never change. And that's why I have happily found a space where I feel like I'm always myself. Let me not say enough of myself, where I am myself, but it's also palatable for those who don't necessarily understand me and my people, or where we come from.
I know what you're saying, and I mean, like, yeah, I mean, we've all had to like come to that medium where we can be enough of a version of ourselves that we stay true to what we to our beliefs, and and who we are and our identity, but also make it so that people around us feel comfortable opening up to us as well. I mean, I've also gotten to the point where I don't have to do the super I don't have to do the super AT&T version of the voice, but there are some times,
For sure,
especially like when I would cover council and I talk to old folks, man, old white folks.
Yeah. I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. That was a nice cool little tangent. It made me forget my next question, but that was a cool little tangent we went on. What's we already talked about the teams you kind of have an eye on, team kind of plans for full time. What's something that you think you can do with full time hoops? This will be my last thing. I'll let you go. What's something that you think you can do with full time hoops that would kind of add more than what you're already adding to San Diego? I know we already talked about aspirations that full time has. It's kind of a similar question, but kind of different.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I think one thing I want to get back to doing that I was doing for a while, like I want to be back in the room for like all CIF voting. That's long story short, for the last couple of years, I've not been in that room, and I always feel like if we're making the decisions about who are the very best players in our section, We should have the people who have seen the most basketball,
Yeah.
who have the most, the most knowledge about the current state of affairs, and also can balance that with a little bit of history. And, you know, obviously I don't want to rehash what happened, but like I fell out of favor with the old director of the San Diego Sports Association. And then when he left, the new director is actually a friend of mine, and we're really good. But I bowed out, the last couple of years because of conflict of interest. I didn't want to be the parent in the room.
I see.
So now that AJ's gone, that would be the first thing, like getting back in the room and being able to help come to a decision about like who should be on an all CI first and second team, because there are years where you look at the list and you're just like,
Yeah.
I think of Tyson Robinson's the first name I think about last year. I remember waking up, opening all CI first and second team, looking at the paper and not seeing Tyson Robinson's name, and that to me was like, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
Like, come on, like he just set El Camino's all-time scoring record. They were an open division team.
Like that was crazy. That was almost like, I don't want to say as egregious, but that was almost like when K-Dot didn't get that Grammy over Macklemore. It's like,
oof.
It's like, what?
Oof.
I'm not saying Tyson should have been player of the year, but to not be on one of those teams?
That was crazy.
That was, yeah. Anyway.
And yeah, so that, I think honestly that's going to be my first line of business this season, is to make sure that I do have a say in that, because it's easy to lob shots from the sideline when you're not involved and look at it and just like, okay, you guys are really screwed up. But to affect change in the room, that would be my first line of business. I think that would add value to what I do, because at least I can look out for, the interests of San Diego basketball at large. So
I want to get into, I don't know, I guess scouting would be fun, but I don't know if I want to get into that. I definitely aspire to be I don't want to do what you do, but kind of be a space in prep hoops that people look to for some sort of information. I definitely love what I'm doing now. I want to entertain. I want to post everybody's highlights. I want to give everybody some shine, give everybody some burn. But I definitely aspire to be in a space where, I don't know, maybe a coach might randomly hit me, hey man, I saw you was at this game last week. What do you think of this kid? I would love to be in that type of position. Now I'm gonna get there.
I think you're gonna be there sooner than you think, because honestly, we need more eyes and we need more people to, really dive deep into San Diego hoops. There are so many teams. I look through the list of teams that I don't get to see on a yearly basis, and as much basketball as I see, like there's a lot that I don't. And I think that the more trained eyes that we can have, evaluating kids, giving them feedback, evaluating teams, giving them feedback, the better San Diego basketball will be for it. So I'm all for you doing that, bro. Get it done.
Oh. This will be the real last question. Cream of the County on the women's side. What's going on with that?
I think I think it's next week.
Okay.
Marlon Wells does a really good job with the COTC. A couple years back, he came to me and was like, AB, I know you're busy. I know you really don't do the girls thing, but like we really need to get this going. Like there's a lot of talent. I was like, bro, like I'm glad you hit me up, because I was gonna hit you up and see if you wanted to do something. And like, he took it, he ran with it. He does a hell of a job with it. He's done, I think this is the 4th installation of the women's Cream of the County, and every year, I hear really good things about it. So, that's 2 Sundays from now. I'm really excited to see what Marlon does. Obviously, it's dope that he's still able to stay connected to San Diego, after moving
with this new gig, yeah.
With the new gig. He actually has been living in Riverside County for the last couple of years.
I didn't know that.
Just didn't realize it. Yeah,
wow.
That commute was a monster. But he lives in Riverside County. He works out of was the Ladera Sports Complex. So but it's cool that he's still able to remain connected via the Cream of the County. So I'm excited to see what he has in store. He does it, his format is like slightly different than the boys format, but it's a great time. It's also, I would say, I mean, there are certain things I can't do because of like people that are there. Like one thing I always like, I actually, would love for music to be played throughout the game. But I also know that when I bring scouts down, like,
got you.
They want to keep that environment like sterile because they're trying to focus on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just can't focus their music. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But like Marlon, they got the DJ. They do it more Rucker style, and I feel it. So I'm gonna be out there.
I was about to say I've never made it out to one, but I got to get out there, man.
Yeah,
I got to start covering more girls games, man. I feel bad whenever a women's high school basketball player hits me up. Lala from Lincoln, she hit me up after she seen I mic'd up Jurian at Cream of the County, and she may be like, "What's up? Do you mic up the girls? You only do the boys? Like, what's up?" I was like, "Dang, she didn't. That's not what she was going for, but she made me feel bad." I was like, "Dang, I gotta get a girl some more shine, man."
You know what's crazy? Like you could have, man. Had you been at Madison last week? She played with the boys.
Did she?
She played with Lincoln's boys team. Yep, you could have mic'd her up then, man.
Oh, I wish I would have known that.
I didn't know it either until I showed up and like, I thought she was just like, they're chilling and like they checked her in. I was like, oh, okay.
That's another thing. Y'all players, y'all do a good job. Y'all do a good job of reaching out when y'all want to mix. And obviously, I'm never going to be mad at that. But when stuff like that is happening, you got to let somebody know.
Seriously.
Like last season when I'm working for KUSI, I'm just happen to be covering a game, and they have the quarterback's little sister is the field goal kicker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yo, somebody, I mean, maybe you just don't know, but there's platforms like, yo, I'm here, like Aaron's here, like there's platforms here, like people need to know about this dope stuff that's going on, man. If I would have known that a women's basketball player was playing with the boys, I would have went, even if she never scored, I would have been there, camera following her all day.
DM us, man.
Come on, man. Yeah,
y'all know my socials. Full-time Hoops 1. Y'all already know.
I need to know about that. But I took up enough of your time, and I'm gonna let you get out of here, my guy. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. Glad we finally got it done,
yes,
man.
Sir.
We gotta find a way to collaborate in the basketball season too. Do some Michael Flicks full-time hoop stuff together, man.
I'm excited for that, man. Let's do it. I mean, I've been mic'd up before. Like,
yeah. I remember.
We're
gonna do it again. I remember I came and hollered at you. You was like, I'm mic'd up right now. I was like, oh, let me get out the way. I remember that.
No, but we definitely got to do something, man.
We gonna get some stuff done for sure.
I'm excited for where you're going. I mean, and I think you've done a really good job with the podcast.
Thank you, man.
I always hear good things from the guys.
Thank you.
AJ really enjoyed his time on here, and I mean, I'm glad I was able to share space with you today, man.
Thank you, man. It means a lot, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We're gonna do it again. I know you stay on top of everything, so next time you got something hot going on, I'm gonna try to have you back on the show. It won't take a year this time, though. It won't take a year.
Yes, sir.
So another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flicks. I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Until next time.